everyone, and welcome to BQB episode 56. Evening, Angus. Do you have a beverage?
I've got Lucky's latest offering.
The FAF IPA number 5.
Number 5. I went half everyone with my rendition of Mambo number 5, which I thought of.
Lovely. And Caesar, good evening. Do you have a beverage?
Evening, guys. Yes, I do. I have Evil Megacorp's Bad at Paperwork. So that's just arrived yesterday, I think, from across the Nullarbor.
Across the No Tree. Lovely. Well, you may be surprised. I am also sipping a Evil Megacorp. I have the Stuck in Ormuz. It is a wet hop rye pils land beer with local ingredients with Murtlock malt and MR hops due to the huge hop slug that is blocking the Strait of Hormuz.
I thought we discussed this. Evil Megacorp.
Evil Megacorp. Yes.
Didn't we discuss this?
My post this week, on my show, my Instagram was trying to get a collaboration between FAF and Evil Megacorp. So, but yes, that's as clear as day that FAF.
Yeah, you can see me through the beer.
Yeah, and that's not always a good thing.
It is tasty. I had that last night. It was very, very tasty.
Yeah, I thought the FAF 5, it's probably the most bitter of the FAF releases so far. Big punchy IPA.
Yeah, if you wanted to style it, which Lockie doesn't, really kind of reminds me of a old school West Coast IPA. Big bittering, just smacking you around the head, and not too much aroma and flavor going on.
And what are you thinking of the EMC there, Caesar?
So it's a sticky date. What was it? Sticky date Weizenbock. Interesting, because you get that sort of Weizenbock aftertaste, but a little bit more sweeter up front. So not too bad.
And my rye pils lamb beer, it's even got a little bit of phenolics, I think, to it. It's there's a little bit of fruitiness to it. It's really, really nice. I didn't bring a glass, but I'm sure it have a lovely rye colour to it too. I just love the stuff that Reese and Lockie are doing. Just a bit of fun. I love the hype train, and the people who don't like the hype train, they can jump off. They're great beers.
You got me. I thought you were reposting Lockie and Reese announcing a collab. It took me like 2 seconds. I'm like, oh no, wait, Luke's just taking the piss. Damn it!
I had to have a look before I just reposted it willy nilly.
Yeah, we got to get those Perth boys back together. I reckon they could do something really crazy. But anyway,
now that he's got his stuff sorted, Lockie shouldn't be afraid.
Yeah.
no, that is legal.
Yeah. Alrighty, so beer news. Last week we mentioned we saw a cryptic post from Matic Brewing boarding a plane, and now we know the reason. Co-owner, head brewer, and 100% genuine good bloke Jimmy won the Australian Belgian Excellence Awards for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Matic put out a post quite a while ago voting for asking people to vote for Jimmy, and they have a lot of backing in the Belgian community and the Gold Coast community as a whole. And how cool is it to see Jimmy win that award? And I'm really proud and happy and stoked for everything they're doing. And like we've mentioned a couple of times, the new kitchen's open, so I've got to get down and get me a Scotch egg for sure.
It's really well done on them. I'm very impressed with what they've been doing. They've been very. It's been a long time coming. I know they've had some recognition from the embassy previously, But this is to get an award is exceptional.
I think they've had a couple of delegates even visit the brewery, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. I think their beer got served when they had a delegation at the embassy, which is one of the reasons why they sort of met them. So they had a event and they were part of that.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Madoc since they started.
Yeah, much Madoc love on this potty and between the three of us. So share it if you got it. But yeah, definitely going to go down and try out their new kitchen, which it's a huge move for such a little brew pub. Having a full kitchen operation. I hope it really works out for them.
Well, it is a brew pub now, right? Before it was just a brewery with a storefront, but with the full restaurant. Does that make it a gastro pub?
I don't know. But they had pizzas and stuff. But yeah, I think this just takes it to the next level.
Mm.
Yep.
Was it still running out of the trailer, or they moved? Was that what I did it?
No,
I'm pretty sure it's all inside. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so it's just across. Like if you've been there, there's the car park outside. So they've gone across the car park and taken over the building directly across from them. So they've got. Last time I was there, Annalise was trying to get the connection between the two places licensed because they were still trying to get that. Like it's so dumb. Like 3 meters by 2 meters license so they could sell their beers there. But yeah, so it's straight across from where the brewery is.
So you could walk between the car park.
Yeah, but there's like a section of like 3 meters where you couldn't carry a drink with you because it's not licensed. Just such dumb Australian rules. Anyway, that's another
Queensland rules.
Yeah. We've just got to go visit. Yep.
Yeah.
My next story is less fun. Brewdog founder launches a comeback brand after the Brewdog collapse. So one of the wildest stories of this week is Brewdog co-founder James Watt is launching a new beer company called Second Best, only months after Brewdog's dramatic collapse and sale. The story is fascinating because it's considered a blueprint for craft beer growth, apparently. Aggressive branding, punk marketing, crowdfunding investors, massive bar expansion, global distribution. At its peak, Brewdog became one of the most recognizable craft beers in the world. But after the company unraveled, there was criticism of workplace culture, yes. Overexpansion, yes. Slowing craft beer demand, yeah. And so in 2026, earlier this year, Brewdog's UK and Ireland operations were sold to cannabis and beverage giant Tilray Brands and subsequently the Australian arm as well, in a pre-pack administration deal. Nearly 500 jobs were lost. And
reoffered.
Yeah. And his new strategy is more restrained, offering fewer beers, traditional lager and pale ale focus, smaller venues, quality first positioning, and less shock value marketing, which is absolute codswallop. The most interesting part, he's giving 19.3% of the new company to former Brewdog equity investors whose shares were effectively wiped out in the collapse. I would say most of those Brewdog equity investors would tell him where to stick it, because 19.3% of zero is also zero. Thoughts?
Look, if you're gonna extract a silver lining from the steaming pile of dog crap,
Brewdog crap.
You have to give him props for offering 20% of the company to equity punks. He's obviously realized that those guys have been absolutely screwed out of the Brewdog sale. So there's got to be some props there for him offering 20% of his company to the previous shareholders.
What will that get them though? So so he's getting 19%. Is that what they're saying with this new company he's going to start up? They get 19% of that company. Is that what this is saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. 19.3% of second best will be allocated to Brewdog equity investors, I guess, based on their investment. Look, the whole thing about this and the unfair push into Australia that Brewdog got. Brewdog Australia, and yes, they have a hotel company running some of their venues, and they run a couple of them themselves. They make good beers. They've got good people. They're probably copying a bit here in Australia that's probably unwarranted. To be honest, it might even be worth a rebranding of the Australian arm, because good people, good beers, good venues, and there's probably a bit of nastiness around the Brewdog name. It might be worth the Australian arm going for a rebrand.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like Australia is so far removed from Scotland and from James Orton, all his hoo-ha. So they're copying damage for what he's been doing way over there. So yeah, it's not a bad idea.
There's really cool people involved in the Australian arm. So yeah, and you had something about flying high, Angus.
Flying high. I don't have much beer news, but this one was pretty interesting. So flying high, your salt and sweetness perceptions drop by 30% at altitude, or so says British Airways. So the studies have suggested that high altitude pressurized air cabins, monotonous engine droning, and the drier air in airplanes all serve to affect your perception of sweet and salt. So there's but strangely, your perceptions of sour, bitter, and spicy notes remains fairly stable. So that pale ale that you enjoy at ground level remains fairly similar at altitude, but the food that you eat it with is more affected. So that then gives the impression that the beer is overly bitter and not as pleasant as your ground level one. So British Airways have spent months reworking their menus to factor in these drops of perception in certain flavors. So they've come up with a brand new burger patty. So that's a result of this months-long study, is coming with a brand new burger patty, which is a combination of chuck, cheek, and anglais beef cuts. So yes, I had to look up what anglais was. Anglais is a French term for what we call in Australia hanger steak, or meat cut from near the diaphragm or the lower belly of the cow. So probably not what you picture as the most marketable steak, but yeah, cook it for a while, and that's going to have big flavors in it because it's a strongly worked muscle.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what does altitude do to beer? So, like I mentioned, standard lagers and heavy IPAs can taste overly bitter and harsh compared to the food that you're eating, because the perception of food drops off, but the beer still stays the same. So then, that perception of the beer is a lot more noticeable. So they in 2017, Cathay Pacific launched Betsy, a pale ale designed for drinking at altitude, and Betsy was named after their first plane that they flew way back when. So maybe the next flight that you're enjoying, you may be enjoying a beer that's completely designed for drinking at altitude. Interesting.
It is. It probably comes to reason why the plain food always tastes so bland when you're up there too. It's the same grey slop that they get everywhere, but unless you're, in business or first class, but
Fancy class.
Yeah, that's really interesting that altitude and all the environment can affect your taste, but it makes sense, definitely.
There is I don't remember exactly which one it is, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Mega Factories and they did an episode on airport catering, and they did talk a lot about how it affects your taste and what they do to prepare the food for that reason, with the extra salt and that sort of stuff to offset or whatever. So
we might have to reach out to Graham Kowalowski, our former head of the back of house at the Royal Queensland Beer Awards, who was a master of catering for Qantas. So maybe there's a bit more to that as well. And if Melbourne, you've got another story about familiar affairs.
Man, if I lived in Melbourne, if you're in Melbourne, get along to Familiar Affairs, which is Co-Conspirators Brewing's winter celebration of stouts, porters, and barrel-aged beers. Personally, I don't prescribe to beers being seasonal. I'll quite happily neck a 13% Russian Imperial Stout in the fierce Brisbane heat, or a hef in the middle of Brisbane's decidedly less fierce winter. But I would miss all sorts of family events to get along to this event in Melbourne. I'll just read some of the beers that are on offer during the event. Wolf of the Willows, Lark Barrel Aged Imperial Smoked Porter. Noodle Doof Whiskey Barrel Chocolate Strawberry Quad. That one sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Boat Rocket Export Stout. Boat Rocket make awesome beers, so that would be a cracker. La Sirène Praline Chocolate Hazelnut and Vanilla Stout.
So that's Nutella in a bottle. Yep.
Pretty much. Yep. Don't have that one if you're allergic to nuts. And lastly, Bridge Road B2 Bomber Mark 16 Imperial Black IPA. So man, those beers sound awesome. I've got a cousin that lives quite near Brunswick, so I messaged him earlier and said, man, you got to get to this. So you might die of whiskey related diabetes, but what a way to go, eh?
So you're just bringing episode 56. You're bringing up you've got a cousin who lives in Brunswick. Like
I can't exactly remember where he lives, but it's quite near Brunswick, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting bit of information to have. And Caesar, you had some information on Birchall.
Yeah, Radio Brew News picked this up. So apparently, Birchall have cut their own evaluation of to $5 million in new crowdfunding round. So they did they did a expression of interest open for a new raise. Now valuing the company at just $5 million pre-money, or 9 cents per share. It's a massive fall from the $26 million in 2024 and $40 million in 2022. So the new CEO, Kristen Hunter, is describing it as a realistic reflection on a tough CSF market, with funding volumes dropping sharply as a result of higher interest rates and the cost of living pressures, and investors pushing away from high-risk startup bets. So it's basically it's pretty bad. So the competitor equalizer collapsed in 2024. As a whole, the whole sector is bigger. And then with this also including Venture Crowd's parent going into administration last year, 2025, and Birchall itself also last year cutting 30% of their staff. So I won't say I'm an expert on this stuff. Like Angus is probably knows the right people better than anyone about all this sort of information. But it's sad reality, isn't it, that Birchall pitching a lower value as a bit of a reset and a turnaround opportunity for them to try and find new investors and stuff, but it's not good.
No.
Yeah, I'm not too much across what's required from companies that are publicly listed. I know there's a lot more stringent requirements on reporting your financial positions and those sort of things. So I kind of get I have a vague impression that they have a requirement to report financial positions, and they can't kind of can't not report these sort of things. So yeah, but
Yeah, I think the 10-year boom of crowdsource funding with a lot of unsuccessful results, I think it's sort of it's run its course, and I think a lot of people are smarter with their money. Unless they want to do that whole passion project, which we've mentioned before, with the benefits that may go with that, which is great. If those benefits add up financially for you and want to be a part of that, great. But I think the market is smarter now, and they've seen how poorly it can go internationally with Brewdog, and as you know, some local ones as well. So it makes sense that Birchall have set their sights a bit lower. It's a huge drop. Like, everything always felt inflated with Birchall and the other crowdsourcing funds. I'm not picking on Birchall particularly, but they always you know, this brewery's going to do $60 million, and it was always, you know, these huge lofty stories. And now they themselves have had to cut 30% of their workforce, and you know, even adjust their evaluation, which is huge.
yeah, it always gave me the feeling, having worked for a .com company during the early 2000s, and kind of been involved in them preparing to go public, and you know, share offers and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, the crowdsource funding always kind of gave me that feeling that it was a brand new thing, and it was running by the seat of its pants, and wasn't really like a mature product or a mature kind of industry. I got that impression with crowdfunding. And look, if you're down the street and you want to emotionally invest, and you can get access to the perks of investing, brilliant. But you know, I'm not going to crowdsource invest in a company, in a brewery in Melbourne, where I can't get to the brewery launches or the you know, the investment parties or whatever it is. I'm not going to long distance emotionally invest in a crowdsource funding. Maybe that's part of the shakeout, is that people have come to realize that if you're going to emotionally invest, do it with the place down the road, so you can get benefits, because you're not getting money back from it.
No. So I think that brings our beer news to a pass. So around the world with Angus.
Around the world with Angus. So just as a little bit of a segue, a little bit of a side path. A few weeks ago, we talked about Russia, and so today I had the pleasure of getting fact checked by an ex-USSR citizen who emigrated to Australia.
Nice.
So pleasingly, my historical facts were pretty on point. There wasn't. I think there was one little minor thing I got wrong. But Alex, who's a consultant that I'm working with at my work, pointed out that craft beer really launched fairly strongly not long after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Actually, he mentioned that quite a lot of things launched really hard with the complete lack of extreme governmental control after 1991. So that was a bit pleasing. But I digress. Where are we going to this week? Last week there was a mention of Vietnam in the stats, so lazily I chose that for this week's destination. So Vietnam, or I should use its more correct title, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. One of only two communist states in Southeast Asia. It's bordered by China to the north, being the other communist state, and Laos and Cambodia to the west. Has an area of 331,000 square kilometers, population of over 10 million. So as a comparison, Australia is 7.6 million square kilometers and a measly population of around 27 million. So rookie numbers, Australia.
Yeah, start breeding.
Yeah. Vietnam has a very long history, and it's certainly a lot more than just some destination for another US war effort. Unfortunately, there's also a long history of war and and unrest as well. Going way back, the Han Dynasty annexed what is now northern and central Vietnam, and was under Chinese rule from 111 BC to 939 BC. And successive dynasties saw them absorb more Chinese culture. Skipping way forward to the 18th century, Vietnam was divided into two main areas, and I'm going to crucify this, Dang Trong and Dang Nguai. So these areas were eventually absorbed into French Indochina. And then after World War II, Vietnam fought for and achieved independence from Japan in 1945. Unfortunately, France came back around and took control again, but they were booted out again in 1954. Vietnam was later split into North and South Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, the North was supported by China and the South supported by the USA. After North Vietnam victory, the country was unified into a single communist state under the Communist Party of Vietnam. Vietnam is now classified as a developing country with a lower middle income economy. But how's the beer? There's currently around 98 active breweries, with the majority being independent. Heineken has a fairly big presence, but who cares about them? So a range of breweries was formed in the early 1990s, producing European beer styles such as Czech Pilsners and German wheat beers. 2010 saw a second wave of breweries opening. Some of the more popular craft breweries now are Pasteur Street Brewing, Heart of Darkness, and East West Brewing. Pasteur Brewing has a really interesting core range. I'll just read some of those ones. Passion Fruit Pale Ale, Bia Chang Moi, which is a low alcohol salted lime beer, which sounds absolutely perfect for Vietnamese humidity, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this segment's just feeding into my my beers to brew list. Jasmine Amber, Nitro Irish Stout, and to be honest, I don't really dig these things, but the tropical seltzer sounds bloody delicious. Guava, kumquat, and pineapple.
Ooh.
So you got some sweet pineapple, a little bit of sour kumquat. Again, that sounds like an absolutely banging choice to combat that Vietnamese crushing humidity.
Yeah, I'm sure I've had some Heart of Darkness beers before. I'm 100% positive that I've had Heart of Darkness beers. Yeah. Really cool. I know, like a lot of those southern Asian countries, they're too humid for growing malt, for growing barley and wheat. So and hops, it's too hot. So pretty much everything has to be imported.
What did you?
Mm.
Yeah. So it makes it really hard for all those equator-esque countries to really produce. But yeah, very cool. Love it. And as always, I love it. And it will be Angus around Australia next week.
Yep.
And so we've got Guess the Brewery and 10-ish questions. Now, we had an absolute failure last week because Caesar chose a brewery that was so hard that no one would ever get it because he's a prick.
It was a bit of a trick choice.
It was definitely a lot of running by the seat of my pants to find something.
Well, you can keep that in your pants, you bastard.
Now you know about them, don't you?
We do. So it's Angus's turn to choose a brewery after last week's massive failure. And I'll let Caesar go first.
Is this an Australian brewery?
No, and I'm also not going to tell you the country that it's from because that will give it away. But no, not Australian.
Well, that's shit. Is it a New Zealand brewery?
Yes, New Zealand brewery.
Ooh.
Oh,
Come on, 2 in. Come on, Caesar.
Oh, jeez. I have a couple of I've got one company in my mind already. Do they just do beer or do they do cider as well?
Ooh, I'm unsure on cider. They do offer distilled products, but I've forgotten what they do.
You're thinking of Monteith's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Garage Project?
Damn it. Yep.
Yes! Is that a record?
Too easy.
Nice. Pickle beer is
so-
the best.
Some of my facts. New Zealand brewery opened in 2011 in a Wellington car garage, starting out brewing 50 litres a batch. Quoting a graffiti-encrusted, rat-infested, derelict petrol station,
Nice.
which would have given it away if you've been to Garage Project in Wellington. 3 friends are co-founders, known for highly
rats
experimental.
anymore. Sorry, no rats anymore.
No rats, probably not. Yeah, it's certainly still graffiti encrusted. 3 friends are co-founders, known for highly experimental beers, but also banging out their core range. Ran a 24 beers in 24 weeks project, which is pretty amazing. A stat I found, I'm not sure how recent this is, they have brewed 640 beers in less than their 600 weeks being open.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I suppose with the small batches, you go through them quicker, I guess. But
yeah,
and a couple of venues now would help.
But still, you're having to, like, you can't just produce 30 pale ales in a row and expect to sell it. Like, you've got to make a different beer, interesting enough beer each week. They still got some in the fridge or on tap that they're going to choose the new thing. Outrageous can artwork. They were well known for collaborations before they were cool. Yes, they're distributed in Australia, and you can find them in good beer stores. And what was the one? Here's an interesting fact. It was almost an Australian brewery located in the Blue Mountains. So
what?
If Garage Project was there, we may never had mountain culture. Although one of the guys is from New Zealand, so we mightn't have got the same Garage Project if they did actually open in Australia. But basically, New South Wales government got in the road and made it way too hard. So one of the guys, I've forgotten their names, but one of the guys travelled to New Zealand, and they found out how easy it was to open a brewery there. So they scratched New South Wales and went to New Zealand. So
that's crazy.
Been Australian.
So their monthly fresh beers, party and bullshit. There's some absolutely cracking beers, and the New Zealand hottest 100. They probably should make it the hottest 20 because the rest of the 80 are probably all Garage Project. Yeah, you've got Parrot Dog and Emerson's and things like Pernicious Weed and that's pretty much the whole list. So yeah, very cool. Is 4 our best guess the brewery so far?
It might be. So. I don't recall anything else being that fast.
Yeah, I don't normally like being fast, except for on this one. Yeah.
I wasn't. I shouldn't have told you if it was New Zealand, and I should have just refused all country questions to make it harder. But you've got like 2 well-known breweries in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, why not? Great choice. So that's it for beer. On to Sportball, and probably the pinnacle of rugby league last night was the State of Origin Game 1. Here are my takeaways. So 9 Now couldn't handle the amount of streamers. It was often buffering and it was low def. I had to swap between that and terrestrial due to poor weather. I'm not sure if everyone had that, but I've definitely seen some comments there that maybe they might need to upgrade their servers. The anthem singer was awful. His accent even worse. However, the Welcome to Country was really nice, and the crowd really supported it. So it was really cool to hear that crowd getting behind the welcome. But good Lord, I'm not sure where they found that country singer. He was singing.
Well, thankfully, I was struggling to get my outside TV streaming on the 9Now thing, so I missed the anthem.
Yeah, so everyone had that. Like we had some storms in Queensland, so a lot of the terrestrial dropped out. So I think a lot of people were jumping on 9Now, and then that melted down because so many people were logging on. So I thought the rookies of both teams were really good. Yeah, impressive debuts. Casey McLean, the 19-year-old, is an absolute talent to watch. And once he got some ball, confidence grew with Ethan Strange. For the Maroons, Selwyn Cobbo and Kalen Ponga played the best they've ever done. And new halfback Sam Walker had an absolute blinder. He looks like he deserves to be there. And the send-off, I think it was the wrong call. All the pictures came out today that show that, he didn't actually hit the head with his shoulder. However, I was really surprised that Klein overrode the bunker. I think it's the first time I've ever seen that happen. It was a sin bin offence for 10 in the bin, but that helped New South Wales get over the line. I thought it was, other than that, I thought it was a cracking game. If that 10-minute in the bin came back, I still think it would have been a cracker of a finish. New South Wales were really coming back, and game 2 at the MCG in 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're right, mate. You go, Angus.
Okay. I was gonna say I was talking to watch it with James and my son, and so I was talking to him. He was complaining about how Nathan Cleary was so good at kicking, and for me in that second half, that was a massive difference. Where every kick that he did was contestable, was hard for Queensland, was a challenge, required 2 people thinking about who was going to catch the ball, or whereas Queensland were just doing like dumb kicks, like just grubbers through, and there were like 3 or 4 times they just grubbered through, and the New South Wales defender just picked the ball up and ran it easy.
Yeah,
didn't have to make a decision. Didn't have to do anything. Didn't have to do anything except just catch the ball that was rolling towards him. And I think that was the massive difference. Was
the only reason I think they were doing the grubbers was the wind. They didn't want to go high because it was dropping them too short, so they did a lot of grubbers. But Nathan Cleary had a masterclass, and that 40-20 that ended up with him scoring a try, like he's got a golden boot, that boy. And and the Tedesco try, it couldn't have been any better. Like, it was placed perfectly. So, good luck to him. And
it could have been 20 centimeters closer to the post. if I'm being pedantic.
Oh, look, you made it. That's fine. I will say, I actually do think that the win had a big thing, because you'll notice Queensland did kick slightly better in the first half than they did in the second half. But I will say that I think that New South Wales, Cleary could have kicked better. In the previously, New South Wales always kicked really, really well, way better than Queensland. But I mean, if they had brought Liam Burton on sooner than they could have, that might have been even more interesting and could have been a lot worse. But I agree with the send-off. If it had been a sin bin, it would have still been close, because Queensland would still have been gassed. That's why that last 10 minutes was such a difference. It's the last 20 years where they were down 12 men. They did well for the first 10 minutes. It was once it got within that last 10 that they just got tired of dumb, like Munster giving away a couple of dumb penalties. On the 5th tackle, gave away a ruck infringement. Why?
Yeah. Well, Matt Burton only got on because of the 19th man rule or 18th man rule, where someone gets taken out, and like, it was a head clash, and it wasn't good. And yes, Ponga should have been. And apparently today he's missed suspension because they found that he did not attack the head. He attacked a shoulder and they had a head clash. Old Bud still didn't pass his HIA, which is not good on a debut. But the thing that I was really excited about is how many new players, and with the new rules with the international players coming on, like Victor Bradley for New South Wales and Aiden Fanil Blake. Look, I thought there was some really good stuff. Brian To'o made quite a few errors, which is unlike him. So I think the next game of the MCG is going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, like not being an expert on rugby league, I couldn't have told you who the debutants were.
Yeah, because they were playing at the level. I couldn't have told you
which guys were brand new. I couldn't have said which ones didn't fit in.
Yep.
Went up to the level. Like I couldn't have told you any of them.
Yeah, and that's an absolute credit to the selectors taking the risk on some of those new young players, because they stepped up. And Ethan Strange, he was quiet and he was sort of playing out in the centres. But once he, the poor bugger, he only scored 2 tries in an Origin winning match, like on debut. Like,
I think one thing we need to think about too is we need to know who Reece Lopez picked for his team. Throwback to his interview, he was trying to decide between Queensland and New South Wales. So he may have tuned out because we're starting to talk about sport, but who knows?
Yeah. We'll have to find out what Reece thinks. And how's the AFL travelling?
Well, the big news this week is the loss of Neil Danaher, age 65, from MMD. So he, 13 years ago, he was diagnosed, given 2 years to live. But with that diagnosis, he realised there was no funding and no research. So he's gone on to raise more than $100 million for MMD research. They have the Big Freeze campaign, so the blue and white beanies you see around a bit, particularly in the southern states. So all the tribute's been flowing in a week about everything he did. He was a great player for Essendon with him and his 3 other brothers, and as a coach from Melbourne.
So there was a Neil Danaher, wasn't there?
Yes. So Neil, for those in Queensland, Neil Danaher is the uncle of Joe Danaher. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And then in other sad news, Queensland got demolished by GWS. Really bizarre. They were in it for a half, and for the second week in a row, they really let themselves go in the second half, and their defence just fell away, and they ended up having the GWS had the biggest scoring quarter ever. It was like 18 goals. It was ridiculous.
Right, 80 points in a quarter, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, quarter. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. It was 78 points or something.
Yeah. That's crazy.
My mother-in-law likes watching AFL, so she'd watch to the half time when it was, I think there was 1 goal in it, so 6 points difference. And then had to start cooking dinner because it was my father-in-law's birthday, afternoon lunch kind of thing. And so she missed the 3rd quarter, came back to the 4th quarter, and like all hell had broken loose. Lions had scored nothing. So they scored 0 points in the 3rd quarter. And GWS scored 76 points or whatever it was in 1 quarter. So 76-0 for 1 quarter. That was an absolute monstering.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What did they have at half time? That wasn't more sliced oranges.
Well, I'd heard rumours there was potentially possibly a chance that some of the lines had been out the night before. They might have run out of gas because they were not prepared. Don't know. Maybe the GWS threw something in the water. Who knows?
Actually, you know what it was? They didn't take their whiteboard.
Yeah,
Didn't have the whiteboard there.
Yep. And Super Rugby.
Super Rugby. Once again, I had a crazy weekend, and like I said last time, I'll probably have more news on why my weekends are crazy in a few weeks. But I did manage to watch the Reds versus Moana Pacifica, and as I predicted, they cut loose. Moana Pacifica cut loose.
Yep.
And it was only in the last 5 minutes that Jock Campbell managed to sneak over for a try to I think to steal the game. Moana Pacific were played over and above the Reds the whole game. And I like the Reds got to be a lot more clinical and strategic if they want to compete at all with the Kiwi teams in the finals, which they, with win over Moana, they have qualified for the finals, currently in 6th place. Next week they're playing against Fiji and Drua, who are, I think, last on the table, but again, underestimate them at your own risk. Again, stroke players across the field, and we all know what Fiji is capable of on the rugby field. Just telepathic freaks. So again, if we manage a big win against the Drua and some other results go our way, that could see us put into 4th place, and we avoid an away game against the Hurricanes. And I think the longer we can avoid the Hurricanes, the better. As far as I'm concerned, they're the strike team of this whole season, and I don't see anyone beating them. Basically, I think.
And was that right that you posted as one of the tries of the season?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh yeah, that was just unbelievable. Watching that, I don't care what sport you support. Like just watching that, you have to admire the skills and the timing, and obviously the amount of training that's gone into being able to pull that stuff off. Yeah, that was outrageous.
Yeah, I forgive my ignorance. There was a Hurricanes player from the week before, after playing Moana Pacifica, and he was saying how important it is for that team to be in the competition, and he really spoke highly of how important it is. And like I mentioned last week, there's a couple of bids to try and keep them going. I don't know if it's too late or anything, but I thought the Hurricanes player really spoke highly of how important it was for them to be in the competition.
Yeah, like Fiji and Tonga and Samoa, the other island nations have been a big supplier of outrageous rugby talent for decades.
And league too, yeah.
And league as well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And it seems a real shame that they haven't been given the financial backing to have their teams on an almost equal footing with the established big countries, New Zealand, Australia, England, those guys. So I think the last World Cup, I think it was Fiji, got together. They all flew in, and the whole team got there on the Wednesday before their opening game for the World Cup. Whereas all the big boys had been there for like a few weeks and had training bases and established, training areas, and they'd acclimatized. Whereas Fiji flew in 3 days before their first game. So there's a part of me that thinks that the big rugby countries are frightened of giving the island nations too much parity, because they'll pants us, man.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine having Fiji in England for 3 or 4 weeks acclimatizing and having a training base and having some solid practice.
And
let's not forget.
I'd love to see it.
I would say let's not forget that Fiji won the first ever gold medal in the Olympics for rugby sevens. Brisbane 32 would hopefully suit them quite well because it's not too far for them. Potentially a lot of them actually base themselves out of, particularly in Queensland. Because quite a lot of the teams and stuff do like a lot of fruit picking and stuff like that, work on farms and whatnot. And so hopefully they can contribute, grow their game in the 15-man comp, and we give them an opportunity, same as some other, I said realistically, the less that rugby do for these Pacific Islands, the better it is for league, because that's what happens. They all come over here, they go to school here,
Yep.
and then rugby league picks them up at the loss of the game.
And I see, Caesar, you have cracked a faff as well.
I have. I got a special delivery this week. I had 2 really good deliveries, so not
So you'll have
complaining there.
nothing left for next week?
Look, there's
Wolf of the Willows IPA. Nice.
There's always an opportunity for something to come up. Who knows?
All right. So I had my last one was the FIA Battery Management World Championship. Canada was very interesting with both Mercedes battling it out for 30-odd laps before George's car gave up. He was fined €5,000 for his dummy spit throwing his shoulder insert onto the track. Well done to Kimi on his 4th race win in a row, the first driver to ever have 4 race wins as his first 4 wins. Keen to see if the compression ratios are helping them when the regulations change in June. He did get in trouble from Toto for complaining about George on the radio in the sprint. 4 times he complained about George, and Toto just got on the radio and said, yeah, we're not talking about this on the radio. We'll talk about it later. So McLaren suffered from psychological rain, whereas they put both drivers on intermediate tyres to start the race, which was 100% the wrong call. I'm pretty sure Oscar Piastri said that if it had gone through, they'd be heroes. If it didn't work out, they'd be zeros, and that was what it was. I'm surprised that they didn't split the strategy to hedge their bets.
No, because that would imply that they would look after Oscar.
If anything, I would have said that I'm sure they would have put Lando on the slicks and Oscar on the intermediates, but it was quite interesting. Valtteri Bottas got a penalty, 10-second penalty, for doing 80.1 kilometers in the 80-kilometer/hour pit lane. So their limiter might have to be looked at, and obviously there's no room for error. Monaco is next.
That's Queensland transport levels of accuracy.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, but was he doing 80.1 at the line? So, because that could just be when he engaged his limiter. So he was trying to push the line for how fast he's going in, attacking the line, potentially.
I only know from V8s when I've done pit lane radar when I was doing some V8 volunteering, and the radar's halfway down the lane. But if your pit is right at the start, that sort of let you get away with it. But then when you exit, it meant that you were recorded for longer than most other drivers. So the pit lane speed radar was about halfway down the lane, so you'd get either way. And we had to record every car, like we were, radioing every car. It was so I'm sure they've got massive telemetry, and Cadillac have just missed with their limiter, I'm sure, on that one.
Probably, right.
Yeah, so Monaco's next. The normal follow the leader comp.
Snooze.
But I actually think the Ferraris will do better if they can qualify, because they're quicker than any other car in the slow corners. So I actually think if we had Lewis on the podium, and subsequently his brother was on the podium in the British Touring Car Champs too, which was really cool. However, I think if they can qualify up the front, I think we may see a Ferrari win in Monaco.
Well, yeah, that's Monaco, isn't it? The one thing I will say is, if you're going to even slightly interested, or it is definitely the spectacles why you watch this one, but it's qualifying. The race is won on Saturday.
Yeah.
Watch qualifying live if you can. It's worth it.
Yeah.
And then you can pretty much set your watch to the 2-hour time limit that will.
And there's not going to be any of this power absorption areas and deployment things because the track's so tight, twisty, and turny. I'm not sure where they're going to be able to put those zones in. So,
oh look, the swimming pool and the main straight, but they got the aero and the overtake. So. Yeah. So it will really be. It's going to be coming out of the tunnel, where they may get overcliffing, but to be fair, it's that tight they just won't deploy until they get to the tunnel, so it probably won't be a problem. Or turn 1 maybe.
But that's where everyone will deploy, so it'll be
Yeah.
I just want to point out that you mentioned overtake and Monaco in the same sentence.
Only because the button is called the overtake button, not because they will be overtaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's follow the leader. It's the gravy train. But I think Ferrari have a chance. And it's, Charles Leclerc has won there before. He's not the best Ferrari, surprisingly, at the moment. I actually think Lewis has got a bit of mongrel to him in the last couple of races, so it'd be really cool. If he can win for Ferrari, they will think that that's worth every dollar that they've just lost on that new electric vehicle that they just released.
Yeah,
that they lost. How was it? 9%. The share value went down when they released that ugly monstrosity.
Yeah, EU's pretty tight on these sort of targets. That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's why they have Fiat. That's what Fiat's for.
Yeah.
So.
Fix it again, Tony. Yep.
Yeah. I will say, you're talking about Hamilton. Hamilton really look after his tyres well in the race.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's more sport than beer tonight, but I've loved it as always. Does anyone have anything else?
No.
I know. I saw a little article from Hiker East Brisbane. They're starting trivia on Wednesdays. I tend to semi-regularly go. Yeah. I semi-regularly go out to Archer on Wednesdays, but we shop around. So just another one to pick up, have a go at, see how it is.
Yes.
So always keen for a beer and a
battle of the brains.
Yeah, show off my knowledge or lack thereof.
So you get your steps in on Tuesdays. Then you just walk down to Hiker.
Yeah, pretty much.
Beautiful, love it. Cheers, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening to BQB episode 56. Join us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube if you want to see our ugly faces, and wherever you get your beautiful content. And I might finish that with the Evil Mega Corp.
BQB.
BQB, yes. We're the best.
This is what I got to put up with.
Yes. If you want to be part of this, you got to join in.
That's fair.
Thanks, gentlemen.
I would if the child in the next room. I don't want to be too loud.
Thanks, everyone, and catch you next week. Thank you. Great chat. Cheers.
Cheers.
See ya.